Hello and blessings to you. In this video, we'll cover chapter 26 of the first Hebrew primer, which will be talking about hollow verbs in the Hiphil stem. Okay, first, as has been our practice, let's start out with a couple of these oral review exercises. Okay, so first we have Shnei Rashim Hishliku Avanim Ba'aron HaKodesh V'nishlak Otam Me Artsenu. And this will be two wicked ones, perhaps. So two wicked ones, maybe even men, two wicked men, because this is plural. But we don't know. We could just say two wicked ones. Hishliku. So this we see this plural ending. We see this hey out front with a hierarch, so we can think this is probably a Hiphil. And then we can identify, and well, we can also see this hierarch yod here. So if we take out all of those, we're left with Shin, Lamed, Kaf. Okay, let me pull this pen out. So Shin, Lamed, Kaf, which we don't want to confuse with another verb we know as Shin, Lamed, Chet. So we know Shin, Lamed, Kaf, and this is supposed to be a final Kaf, just so you know, is our verb in the Hiphil, meaning throw. So two wicked ones threw stones on the ark of holiness, or maybe on the holy ark, and we sent them. Okay, so we sent, we see this noon is a signal letter for the imperfect. And so actually we have this other verb here now. We have shalak, which is to send. And we have this first common plural of the imperfect. So and we sent, because of the reversing bob, we'll switch the tense. So and we sent otam them. We have our direct object marker followed by a pronominal suffix. And that normally gives us this holimbav here in the middle. So otam them, and we sent them ma'artsenu. From, we see this pronominal suffix, a first common plural, so our, and then eretz, land, from our land. So altogether, we have two wicked ones threw rocks on the holy ark, and we sent them from our land. Okay, second one, we have Lama ha'emid Moshe et chelo michutz lamachne vahu amad lefanav. Okay, so lama, literally for what, which then we can translate as why. Right, so why, here we have ha'emid, we have a Hiphil out front with a hierarch yod in the middle. We can, I'm sorry, we have a hey out front and a hierarch yod in the middle, which kind of tips us off that this is probably a Hiphil. So then we recognize ayin mem dalet as amad, to stand. So maybe caused to stand. So why? Perhaps did he cause to stand? Because we have a 3ms form. Moshe, so that names the he. So why did Moses cause to stand? Et chelo, his army. Makutz, this is outside. La machane is of the camp. So here we have this idiom, outside of. And then we have a definite article hiding underneath this preposition, this lamed preposition. You can see this patak with the dagesh in the next letter. So that's the camp. So why did Moses cause his army to stand outside of the camp. And who is he? So, and he, Ahmad, he stood before it. Okay, so all together we have why did Moses why did Moses cause his army to stand outside of the camp, and he stood before it? Okay. Let's scroll down to our vocab next. We have some new words here, and then we have some words that we've already learned, so some review here. So first we have kun, prepare or establish. We have nakah, which is strike, hit, or smite. As you can maybe guess from seeing this, this is a very irregular word because it starts out with a noon and ends with a hey. So it's doubly weak. So because of that, as we'll see later, we'll be able to expect that this will have some pretty irregular forms, and in fact, maybe even the cough in the middle will be all that's left sometimes. So we'll get to that later. But so strike or hit or smite, especially in the Hiphil. I think this word almost always is in the Hiphil. We have bow, which in the pa'al means to come. Now in the Hiphil would be cause to come, which we might interpret as bring. If you cause something to come, you are bringing it. Mut in the pa'al is die. Cause to die in the Hiphil means to kill. If you cause something to die, you have killed it. Kum in the pa'al is get up or arise. And then in the Hiphil, if you cause something to arise, you are establishing it. So especially maybe like a kingdom. You're establishing a kingdom when you cause a kingdom to arise. Right? Next we have shuv, and the pa'al is return. And if you cause something to return in our Hiphil, then you are bringing it back. So notice kind of the nuance between bring and bring back. So bow is come. So in the same way, maybe shuv would be come again. So come again. Maybe then bring in the Hiphil and bring back. So shuv has this kind of extra visit sort of meaning behind it. So, well, now just on to some of these regular vocab words, not verbs. We have kaf, kafot, kaf, kafot. It means the palm of the hand or the sole of the foot. So kind of this wide, fleshy area on one of your extremities. Here we have neged, it means opposite or in front of. We have afar, afar means dust. Just in case it helps you, I think of Jafar in Aladdin and how Agrabah is kind of a dusty, sandy area. So afar is dust. It helps me. Hopefully it'll help someone. We have etzem, atzamot. Etzem, atzamot means bone or essence. So etzem. Then we have pen, which means lest. Pa'am, pa'amim is a time or an occurrence. And it can be used with numerals to be like 3 times, 4 times. So I guess we can look at that in a second. We'll get this last word. We have kadosh, kadoshim, means holy. This is an adjective. Okay. So the nouns kaf and etzem take plural possessive endings. If you're interested in looking those up, you can refer to page 388 and 390. Neged, opposite or in front of, takes prepositional endings, so maybe like negedo or negdo probably would be in front of it or something along those lines. You can find those endings on page 385. And then here's our word pa'am, a time or occurrence. By itself, it could just mean a time or once, but then with numerals and a plural ending, such as shalosh pa'amim, this would be 3 times. Okay, so here we have pa'am hu asa lachem, so maybe a time he made bread, or once he made bread. Then we have hu asa lachem shalosh pa'amim. So he made bread 3 times. Okay, fairly straightforward. Pretty well how we use this sort of language in English as well. So we've already experienced hollow verbs. Was that chapter 21? Yeah, back in chapter 21. And so there are those verbs that have a vav or a yod as the middle root letter, and that vav or yod drops out or turns into a vowel letter in most forms. Same thing applies in the Hiphil pattern. Okay. So the way that you will identify these is to, just like in chapter 1 we talked about, is to just know that form, that word well enough that you are able to recognize it when that middle letter drops out. Now specifically in the Hiphil, are kind of signal letters and markers that this is a Hiphil word are the same as with other Hiphil words, right? So we have this hey that will typically be at the beginning, except in the imperfect it won't be. And I think participle as well will take a mem. Most other forms should take that. Oh, I guess commands, yeah, commands will. That hey will help you identify this as a Hiphil. Also the Hirik yod, that will end up in a lot of the forms, especially in the imperfect. So same kind of diagnostic patterns as other Hiphils. Only thing we're adding here is these hollow verbs that have those letters drop out, just like they do in the pa'al or cowl stem. So here is a chart that takes a pa'al versus a Hiphil for our beit vav aleph verb. Okay, so let's just kind of compare these. I don't know that we'll go through this whole list, although I will ask that you will go through this whole list. But here we have first bati becomes heveti, bata heveta, bat havet, ba havi, ba'a hevia, banu hevenu, batem havetem, baten haveten, ba'u habiu. So pretty apparent difference between the two, with these hays prefixing it and then Hirik yod appearing in specifically the third person forms in the perfect tense. Jumping over to the imperfect, we have avo, avi, tavo, tavi, tavoi, tavii, yavo, yavi, tavo, tavi, navo, navi, tavou, taviu, tevoena, taviena, yavou, yaviu, tavoena, taviena. Okay, jumping over to participles, we have ba, maybe, that's kind of fun, maybe, ba'a, maybi'a, ba'im, mavi'im, ba'ot, mavi'ot. I know I said I wouldn't do the whole chart, but we're almost done, so we'll just get through this. Bo, have, boi, havii, bou, haviu, bona, havena. Regular infinitives, we have bo or labo or lavo in this case. Havi, lahavi. And then infinitive of emphasis, we have bo, have. Okay, so from going through these, we should have been able to discern that this Hiphil pattern is the same as it is in the pa'al. So this hey proceeding in the perfect in most other forms, and the hirik yod in the same sorts of forms as it was in chapter 21. Right, so let's find that chart really fast. I'm sorry, not 21. I'm just looking for chapter 24, actually. Yeah, with our regular Hiphil pattern. So here we have the hirik out front of most forms, and then the hirik yod in the third person perfect forms. And then no hey out front, but we do have lengthened signal letters instead of the normal shava we might expect. Yeah, so same sorts of things are happening here in chapter 26 with the Hiphil. So okay, so yeah, the imperfect looks a lot like the pa'al perfect, and it will help you to kind of notice this hirik yod here in most forms. It's not in every form. Actually, I say that. No, it is in every form in the in hollow verbs. So that should be able to help you distinguish the imperfect. So here's some examples of this. In the pa'al, this first line, we have yashuv, yashbo, yakum becomes yashiv, yavi, yakim. Okay. Participles take a mem, just like participles of other Hiphil verbs. And that middle root letter drops out in all the forms. So keep that in mind. It either drops out or becomes a vowel letter, which is essentially the consonant is dropping out. So then to find the root of a Hiphil hollow verb, first we'll remove signal letters and then take out maybe the vowel letters like this hirik yod. And so here we have yashiv. Take that off, we get sheen bait here, and we can identify that as sheen vav bait or shuv. Same thing here, we have hakimoti. Take off the signal letters. That leaves us with a kof mem, and then we can recognize this as kof vav mem. So up to this point, it should be about what you would expect combining chapter 21 with chapter 24. So we've already dealt with hollow verbs, you're familiar with those. We've already dealt with the Hiphil for a few chapters now. And so this is basically just combining those two chapters. Now, another layer of complexity, which we're also already familiar with, are these clipped forms. So remember that are verbs that end in hey, or verbs, or just even the hollow verbs also become clipped forms, especially with an imperfect form with a vav consecutive in the third masculine singular. Those will particularly take these clipped forms. Okay, so be on the lookout for those. I'll read the imperfect form and the clipped form for these just so we can kind of have some familiarity between them. So yavi becomes vayave. Yolid becomes vayoled. Yotzi becomes vayotse. Yalvish becomes va yalvesh. Yagid becomes va yagid, sorry, va yagade. Yake becomes vayak. Notice this is naka. In this form, at least we have retained this hey at the end, but here all we have is a kaf, and it's even turned into a final kaf. So maybe just kind of visually comparing these two, it doesn't necessarily look like they're related at all. Okay, but they are when you pause to reflect that this final kaf is here in the middle. So it's just missing the noon out front because it's a drop letter, and then the hey at the end because in this case it's a clipped form. Okay, then we have ya avir becomes va ya aver. Ya amid becomes va ya amed. Yakim, va yakem. Yashiv, va yashev. Yashlik, va yashlek. Okay. Here is our paradigm chart for these hollow verbs in the Hiphil pattern. Part of me wants to kind of skip over these because especially we've gone over them all with Bo up here, but I think it might benefit us, and this is kind of a shorter chapter, so let's go ahead and we can run through all of these. So we have hashivoti, sorry, hashivoti, with the accent here over vo. So hashivoti, hashivota, hashivot, hashiv, heshiva, hashivonu, hashivotem, hashivoten, hashivu, hashivu. So this is our perfect forms. In the imperfect hollow Hiphil, we have ashiv, tashiv, tashivi, yashiv, tashiv, nashiv, tashivu, teshivana, yashivu, teshivana. And in the participle, we have meshiv, mashivim, mashiva, mashivot. Commands, we have hashev, hashivu, hashivi, hashevna. Now, I'm sure you all remember the commands are formed from the second person imperfect forms, both in the singular and the plural, minus the signal letter, and in the case of the Hiphil, adding the hey of the Hiphil. So here we have, and there's some other changes here with the vowels. So here we have hirgyod becoming a tsere, lengthening. But so we have hashe, hashivu, hashivi. So here we see that, hashivu, and then hashevna. So finally, with the infinitives, we have either hashiv or lehashiv, and then an infinitive absolute is a hashev. Okay. So shuv, kun, and kum in the Hiphil are different from bo, which we had talked about earlier in this chapter. And so here is a chart for those in the perfect tense, and other tenses will be the same as bo. Now, because we just went through shuv, we're not going to read through this whole chart. Okay, but this probably would help you to be attuned to the differences, especially in the kind of rhythms that the different forms can have, to kind of compare this chart on page 303 with our chart here on page 306. All right, a couple more things, and then we'll be done with this chapter. Naka, as we've already talked about, is very irregular because it both has a weak noon up at front and then a weak hey at the end. So because of that, sometimes the kaf is the only root letter left. Example here in the perfect, we have haketi. So we don't have the hey and we don't have the noon. Okay. So definitely be aware of this. One thing that will help you is by kind of going through our verb analysis process. So if you are unfamiliar with it, first take off any signal letters you can identify. So in the case of the perfect, that might be this tav hirigyod at the end. And then also, I guess we could take out the vowels. So get rid of the hirigyod here as well. And that might leave you just hey kaf. Now, if you're like me, this doesn't sound like a word that I know. And so at that point, I might also question, well, this hey out at the beginning could also be a Hiphil. And if I take that off, I am left with solely a kaf, which at that point, I am attuned to the infamous nature of naka and how it will lose pretty much all of its letters besides this kaf. And then plugging it back in to see that this is a first common singular perfect form. So maybe I struck or something, I hit, something like that. I will read through this just because this is such an irregular verb. I want you to have at least some familiarity with the rhythms of it. So we have haketi, hakita, hakit, hika, hikta, hikinu, hikitem, hikiten, hiku, hiku. It becomes, in the imperfect, with our signal letters, we have ake, take, taki, yake, take, nake, taku, takena, yaku, takena. And obviously these are all Hiphil. I don't know that I expressly said that, but surely you saw the Hiphil hey out front and then kind of these irregular pataks underneath these signal letters in the imperfect. Participle, we can see that it's not pa'al because it starts with the mem. So here we have make, maka, makim, makot. Commands, we have hak, haku, haki, and I guess we're missing the feminine plural form here. So I guess people don't say hakena, telling women to strike something, a group of women to strike something. So it must just not be attested in the Bible is why the authors would leave it out here. Infinitive construct, we have hakot or la hakot. Infinitive absolute, we have hake. Last thing, the participle maka. So here this, well, it's based off of up here. You can see that it's not exactly the same. This is make. But maka has become a noun in its own right, and because of that, instead of just meaning hitting or striking necessarily, it can be translated as a word like maybe a hard blow, a hit, or even a plague. Okay, well that's all for this chapter. Blessings to you, and if you have any questions, ask them in class. Thanks.